In this video, we're going to take a look at measures of central tendency. This is the value that can be used to describe the center or central location of the data. So if we have a set of values, we can generally tell what's the lowest value, what's the highest, what's the span of values that we have, but it's also helpful to know what is the middle number or what's the center of our data there. And we can look at that by looking at the mean, median, or mode. Those are the three measures of central tendency. Now the mean is considered the average. We can use those terms interchangeably, and we calculate that mean or average by adding up all the values in the data set and then dividing by the total number of values that we have. And we'll take a look at an example later. The median is the number in the middle of the data set. But first, we have to order all those values. So we order them from lowest to highest, and then we find the number that's right in the middle. So if we have 3 values, the middle number is going to be value number 2 once we order them all. The mode is what value occurs the most. The mode is the most. So if we have a data set with a lot of numbers and there is no number that is, they're all each unique values, then there's no mode. If we have a data set where there's a number that shows up twice, where all the other numbers show up only once, then that means that the number that shows up twice is our mode. We can also have cases, which we'll look at an example later, where they are multiple modes, so they're called multimodal. If we have a number that shows up, or 2 numbers that show up twice, but everything else only shows up once. So let's take a look at an example with student scores. So if we take a look at the below scores, we have 70, 82, 75, 94, 97, 81, and 82. We can calculate our 3 measures of central tendency. So our mean here, we're first going to want to add up all these numbers. So 70 plus 82, so on and so forth, and that's going to equal 581 once you add them all up. Now there are 7 values here, so we're going to divide this 581 by 7. That's how we find the mean. That turns out to be 83. So while 83 is not a value in this data set, that's what it's saying, that within the span of numbers, 83 would be our middle number there. With the values we've been given here. 83 is our mean. It's our center location. Now the median, we first need to order all the numbers. So we have 70, 75, 81, 2 82s. And let's see, 70, 75, 81, 2 82s, a 94, and a 97. So we have our 7 values here. We want to find the number that's in the middle. So since we have 7, it's an odd number of values. So our middle number is going to be value number 4. I can also count in by going from each side. So if I count in going on the right, then I take one off the left, one off the right, one off the left, and so on and so forth until I get to the middle value, which is 82. So our mean is equal to 82. Now our mode is also the number that shows up the most. So here in our data set, everything shows up once except 82. 82 appears twice, which means our mode is 82. So our median and mode are the same value. In a perfect distribution, which you can take a look at in the normal distributions video, the mean, median, and mode would ideally be the same thing. That's not always the case, so it's good to kind of calculate all of them, and each of these might fit better for a specific type of measurement, depending on if it's nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio. But in a perfect world, these would all be the same in a normal distribution. Now let's take a look at our next example. So in our next example here, we have another set of student scores. So if we were to find the mean, we're going to want to add up all these values. When we do 31 plus 34, so on and so forth, we get 150. That's our total numbers once we add them all up. Now there's 6 values here, so we're going to divide it by 6. This gives us a mean of 30, or I'm sorry, 25. I can add and divide properly. 25. So that's our mean, 25. Now, if we find our median, we need to order all of these values from lowest to high. So we'll do 17, 20, 22, 26, 31, and 34. Now we have 6 values here. Now in the previous example we had 7, so we found an exact number that was in the middle there. When we have even numbers of values in our sets, then the median's a bit harder. We'll find the 2 in the center, so we have 22 and 26 are in the center here, and we have to find the average of the 2. So what we can then do is add 22 plus 26, which gives us a nice 48. But then since we just have 2 values here, we're going to divide by 2. So the middle number in between 22 and 26 is 24. So our median is going to be 24. So if we have an even number of values in our set, find the 2 in the middle and then take the average of the 2 or find the middle between those 2 numbers. Now our mode here, each of these are unique values, so we have no mode. And that's totally okay. Each value is unique. Now the last example we'll take a look at here is just to look at the mode. So if we take a look at this set of values that's already in order there, we have 8 numbers there. What we see here is that there are 2 2s and 2 4s. Everything else just occurs once. So our mode here is actually going to be equal to 2, 4. There's 2 modes. It's bimodal or multimodal. Bimodal meaning that there's 2, or multimodal, depending on preference there. So if we want to take a look at our measures of central tendency, we just take a look at our mean, median, and mode. Thanks.